In this video, we're going to show you how to install pads and rotors on your Kia Sorento located behind your front wheels. Using a 21mm socket, go ahead and loosen and remove your lug nuts. Go ahead and grab that wheel, remove it, and set it aside. Now before we unbolt our caliper itself, there's a piston right here. We want to go ahead and compress that a little bit, so when we undo our two bolts here, we'll be able to slide this right off. I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver, or you can use a small pry bar. You want to go inside here, and you're going to pry it out towards you. You want to go ahead and push that piston in just a little bit. And see that moving in. That's going to give us some flexibility here. So you can see that we have some play with that brake pad, which is exactly what we want. We're now going to go ahead and focus our attention on these two bolts right here, 14mm. Want to remove these bolts. Now we did spray everything down with some rust penetrant to try and loosen up some of this rust on our vehicle. I'm going to remove this bolt. Hold on to that brake caliper. And what we're going to use now is our brake caliper hanging tool here. And when we hang this, we don't want to have any pressure on our flex hose here. We want to go ahead and support this so it doesn't pull on the hose. That can damage the hose itself. So we're going to slide this out. I'm going to put our hook in one of the bolt eyelets here, and then bring it up and hang it on the spring on the strut. Push that back out of the way. I want to go ahead and remove our brake pads. Dispose of those. Now we want to remove our caliper bracket here. There are two 17mm bolts. There's one right here, and there's one right up here. We need to go ahead and loosen and remove these. I'm going to use my 1/2-inch drive. These tend to be pretty tight. You can put an impact gun on this if you want to. We have to use our box wrench on the top here. You could probably run a longer extension out here if you want to. But for clearance purposes, it does hit, if you run a shallow socket right here, it hits the base of the strut. Now I'm going to go ahead and install our bolt down below again. The reason for this here is sometimes if you go to remove the top one, the caliper bracket is going to rotate up on you, and you won't be able to properly loosen this here. So just get that bolt started a few threads. If you have a 17mm gear wrench, that would be perfect in this situation here for this upper bolt. There's that one there. Let's go ahead and get that lower one back out again. And then we'll pull this bracket off, set that aside. Now on our particular rotor here, we have two Phillips head screws, one here and one here, and these are retainers from the factory that holds this brake rotor onto the wheel hub itself. Now if your vehicle don't have these, it's not that big of a deal. It's not critical to the operation of our brakes. Ours has them, and we're going to use an impact tool here to go ahead and loosen and remove these. Sometimes you can use just a Phillips head screwdriver to remove them. Ours were stuck in there pretty good. They're a little bit rusted. Ours are in good shape. We should be able to go ahead and reuse these. You can see that rotor is getting sloppy there, so be careful that doesn't fall off onto your feet. With those removed, we can now go ahead and grab that rotor. We should be able to pull this off of our wheel hub. Let's go ahead and clean our hub face here. Gonna use some spray solvent. And what we really want to do is use your bristle brush, and you want to get around the perimeter here of the hub and scrub that down. The purpose of this is to make sure that you have a smooth surface for that brake rotor to fit onto. If it is uneven, that rotor will not sit flush, and you're going to get a brake pedal pulsation. Might want to go ahead and wipe that down. Now, the next thing we want to do is go ahead and you want to press this piston into the caliper itself. In most cases, this piston is much further out. Go ahead and take one of your old brake pads and use your compressor tool here. You're going to slowly compress this so that the piston is completely flush inside. I want to make sure that piston is flush with the caliper itself. You want to go ahead and clean this up a little bit inside where the other brake pad is going to fit. Obviously, you want to go ahead and inspect the rubber gasket around here as well. Make sure that that is in good condition. Just scrape off or scale off any rust that might be on there. At that point there, we're ready to hang this back up. Get that up and out of the way. Let's go ahead and put some anti-seize compound on our hub face. You can use your brush on or a spray. Go ahead and grab your brake rotor. Set that into place. Now, if you're going to be utilizing these set screws here to hold a rotor, then you can go ahead and line that up accordingly to match up the holes. If you don't have the screws, it's not that critical. Just go ahead and pop the rotor on because you won't be using the holes there. Once you get the screws in, go ahead and make sure those are good and snug. Now I want to go ahead and start to rebuild our caliper bracket itself. Now there's going to be 2 slide pins here with rubber seals. I want to go ahead and grab these pins and twist these here and work these out. Separate them from the rubber seal. Pop this out. And this is the same for the side here. All right, so this pin here, you might find a groove here, or this groove will have a rubber seal in it or a rubber bushing, and that will normally help dampen slide pin operation. However, ours is worn, deteriorated, missing. You do want to go ahead and replace these here. You can acquire these here if you purchase a rubber boot and pin bushing set. So you want to go ahead and service that. If it has the rubber bushing on it, just clean that up. I'm going to go ahead and run this through the wire wheel machine and clean everything up as well. You can use some spray solvent on this. One of the key things to cleaning up these pins here is right around or below where the nut head is here. There should be a groove inside here where the bushing sets. Use your wire brush and clean this up. You want to make sure that you can get that seat area cleaned for the seal to set on. Other things you're looking for proper operation. Make sure that the pin itself is smooth. If it has pits in it or raised rust on it, which ours isn't bad, we're gonna still clean it up a bit further. But if it's rusty, pitty, you do wanna go ahead and replace these here. You might be able to replace the pin, or you might have to do the entire caliper assembly in order to get these here. But you wanna do this to both of these. Now, when you pull this out, you also wanna go ahead and mark the side of the caliper bracket that this came out of. So what you might be able to use is a crayon of some sort and just mark this like that. So you know that that is significant, that's where this goes into. Next thing you want to do is go ahead and grab your rubber boot, and we're going to pinch this at the base, and we want to remove this from the caliper bracket itself. So just be gentle, kind of roll it around, work this out like so. Then you want to go ahead and pull this apart and roll it. Look for any splits or tears. If these are split or torn, you need to replace them. They play a crucial role as far as keeping moisture and debris off of the pin itself and inside. Go ahead and give it a wipe down. That's in good shape. And do the same for the other one here. That is good as well. Now these are the same. It doesn't matter what hole they go into. Both of these boots are identical, so you should be all right with that as far as installing. I'm gonna run these through our wire wheel machine, clean everything up, and then we'll come back and we'll continue cleaning up the bracket. Now that we have our pins cleaned up, our groove is definitely prominent on both of these here, which is perfect, and our pins look really good. Let's now go ahead and focus on the bracket itself. Let's go ahead and pop off the shims here. And where the sliders came off of, we want to go ahead and clean up the tracks here. Going to use our bristle brush and clean this up. I want to get rid of any dirt, debris, scaly rust, all the above. If it is rusty, go ahead and use a flat file to go ahead and clean up that rust. You don't want to really remove metal, but you want to go ahead and clean up any rust on there. Spray it down with some solvent. And go ahead and keep cleaning that up. It's imperative that you do this here because you don't want the new sliders to not sit flush. That's a key thing to this. Okay, that's cleaning up good. And I'm going to repeat for the other side. Once you feel confident that both of these track areas here are cleaned up, let's go ahead and focus on where these slide pins go. We have 2 ports here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some spray solvent into one of these ports. And we need to clean out any debris, dirt, old grease, anything like that by using a bore brush. And it might take a couple cycles of this to really clean it out. Going to repeat for the other side. And my spray solvent was coming out of these ports clear, which is exactly what you want. You don't want to have any more debris falling out and grease and all kinds of dirt. I'm going to rest this on its side and let any of the solvent just drip out the rest of the way and dry out. Let's now go ahead and prepare for our new brake pad sliders here. We're going to take a thin coat or apply a thin coat of grease here. And when I say thin coat, put some on there, smear it with your finger, any excess, wipe it off. Take your new shim or slider, line that up. And the center tabs here will automatically line up the unit. Push these down. Next thing you want to do is make sure that everything sits flush, and it does, so we're good there. I'm going to flip this over and repeat for this side. There we go. Now we'll go ahead and focus our attention on the ports here for our slide pins, where we're going to reinstall our boots. Now what I'm going to do, and this isn't necessary, however, it's highly recommended. I'm going to take a small pocket screwdriver and carefully just run it on the inside of the boot. And you can see the dirt coming out here, old grease. Now you want to do this without cutting into the boot, cleaning out the old garbage that's in there. It's best if we don't put that back in there because this will cause the slide pins to bind up, and we want those slide pins to stay as free moving as possible. If you want, you can use some spray solvent inside the boot. Kind of loosen up some of that garbage, clean that out. You can see at this point here with that spray solvent in, it does loosen up quite a bit. I'm just putting the pocket screwdriver right through and just rolling it. You can see that junk coming out. Here we go, pretty clean now. Let's go ahead and show you how these pop on next. Now with our boot clean, you're gonna have 2 different sides here. One has a larger flange on it, and this one here is just a disc right here. The larger flange is gonna go inside of our caliper bracket. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna kind of pinch it and work it in, and just use your fingertips to kind of rock that boot inside, pushing that in. And there you go. Put your pinky inside the boot, and there it is. It's that easy. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the cleaning process and the installation, same as this one here. Just do it on the other side. Okay, with both of our boots cleaned and installed, we now go ahead and prep our slide pins here. First thing, I'm going to take some of the grease here and I'm going to apply some inside the boot. Then I'm going to take a thin coat and I'm going to coat the pin itself. Now, key thing here, do not pack this full of grease because that's going to cause it to hydrolock and this will never go in and out. Go ahead and take the pin, work that in, and you're going to go ahead and spin that in. and then you want that boot to pop onto the pin itself, like so. So when you pull that pin in and out, the boot works like an accordion, like so. Once you have this one all set, you want to go ahead and install this pin here. If yours has the rubber seal here, make sure that's clean. Apply the grease to it and then insert it. In our case, we need to replace the rubber seal here or that bushing, and then grease it and then install it. Now, if you're like us and you have to replace this bushing, go ahead and take that and you're going to slide that on. If you want, you can apply a little bit of grease to it to help it go on, but for the most part, you can just work it on. And there you have it, just like we did the other one. Don't forget, a little bit of grease inside that boot. Go ahead and work that in. Now you can see here, if you watch, if I push in and that pushes out, we actually have a little bit too much grease on that. That's a hydrolock. We basically have to get that to work. There it is. If you continue to work it, it'll work that air out a little bit. If you can't, pull that pin out, take a little more grease off, and then reinstall it. But you can see at this point, our boot is sealed to our pin spins. Wipe off any excess grease on the outside here if you did make a mess. And our caliper bracket is ready for installation. I'm going to take our rebuilt caliper bracket, line this up. And we did go ahead and we wire wheeled our bolts here, and we did apply a little dab of anti-seize compound. Let's go ahead and get that bolt started here. Once that one started, go ahead and do the same for the bottom one here. Let's go ahead and snug these down. And we basically just want to snug these down. Once you have those snug, we're now going to go ahead and install our brake pads. Now the inboard pad has a squeak tab on the inside. Slide in these squares into the sliders, the square edges there. Okay, once you have the inboard pad installed, go ahead and repeat for the outer pad. Now at this point, we can unhook our caliper off of our support hook here. Spin this around. This should slip right over. Now go ahead and push in on your slider pins, and those should go in nice and easy because you just rebuilt them. Get that bracket in place. I'm going to install my upper bolt first, and then get the lower one installed. I'm just going to run these down as far as I can by hand, and then we'll snug them down. I'm going to go ahead and torque down our caliper bracket to knuckle bolts to 60 foot-pounds. Now we're using a crow's foot end due to clearance issues. Can't really fit a socket in there to properly torque this. On the bottom one, we can fit a socket. So I'm going to switch over to our 17 mil socket. Let's torque down our caliper to bracket bolts. These are going to go to 20 foot-pounds. Now that we have all four of these bolts torqued down, you want to go ahead and repeat the same exact process for the driver's side. At that point there, you want to hop up into the vehicle and pump up that brake pedal. Push it down several times. It's going to go to the floor probably 3 to 4 times, and then you're going to feel it build up. That means that your pistons are moving out, making sure that those pads are ready to grab. Go ahead and grab that wheel, line it up onto those wheel studs. Let's go ahead and get our lug nut started. Now once we get all of these started, we're going to come back and snug them all down. Let's go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 75 foot-pounds. You want to do this in a crisscross pattern. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.